What is up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name's Micah, and today we are covering everything exhaust related for a 2008 to 2016 Honda CBR1000RR. I'm going to show you where everything is at. I'm going to remove the whole exhaust. We'll install our aftermarket exhaust, and this is going to be a slip-on system that gets rid of the catalytic converter and the servo. Well, and so I'll show you exactly what we got here. It's not too much, so we do have a mid pipe, a link pipe here. There is going to be a spot for the O2 sensor. You have your little mounting bracket. It's got a couple hooks there that those springs from the muffler will attach to. And then of course we do have the muffler. Yes, it says SC Project. So this is a knockoff SC Project exhaust. Everything all together. The baffle, the mid pipe, the hangers, the muffler, the springs, there's some heat shielding. It was all sold as a kit. I got it on eBay. It was $116 for everything. So the price alone there should tell you that this is certainly a knockoff exhaust. So as you can see, I've kind of got a bunch of parts already taken off of our bike. You know, the gas tank, the seat. You won't need to take out the gas tank. I'm kind of in the middle of doing like 10 different things on this bike, but I figured this would be a good time to do the exhaust just because you have such a perfect view of everything and how it goes together, how everything is routed. And of course, at the end of the video, we'll fire it up. We'll see how it sounds. I cannot wait. So without further ado, let's rip into it. All right, and so first I'll kind of just give you the lay of the land and show you where everything is at here. So we do have one mounting bolt right here. There's a little bracket that comes up from the muffler, and just behind that you can see our servo cable there, and it threads out, it threads up along here, and then you can see it coming into the tail, and it's under this cover. You have a little cover here on the rear. This is an excellent design. I wish more manufacturers would do this. And then there's three little plastic rivets here. They kind of have a screw in the center, so if you can see here, I just screwed it out just a little bit, and so once it's about there, then you can just pull those plastic rivets right on out. And this is going to give us access to the servo from the bottom. But seeing what it looks like from the top, this little plastic majigger right there, that is the servo. So there is just one bolt here that kind of holds that down. So if you take out this bolt, it kind of can slide up, but with the cables in it, you're not going to be able to just pull this out. So first thing is going to be loosening the cables so that we can pull those out of the servo motor. So we'll pull all of those little plastic rivets out there, kind of just work around it here. You know, work to the back, work to the front, and voila. So there is that little piece. You can see the little plastic tabs in various spots around here. So now with that little plastic cover off, you can see our servo cable here. It kind of runs up. I'll pull that down so you can see it better. And you can see exactly where that goes into that little servo motor wheel right there. Oh, and actually you can kind of just grab that servo wheel and spin it to add some slack onto that line, and then you can slip that cable right out of its little housing there. And then there's another little clip here that kind of holds about the middle of that cable in there. You just slip it out. It's just a little C-shaped hook. And if I can wiggle that out, now our servo cable is loose. Now if we jump over to the left side of the motorcycle here, we're just going to remove this one little bolt here holding the rear part of the lower fairing on. And then with this bolt out, I should be able to move this fairing just enough. Yep. And now I can get access here to the bolt that's on the clamp for our muffler. It's gonna be a 12mm. Oh yeah, she's nice and rusty. All right, now with that bolt out, I think I can kind of just pry open this clamp. Well, I think I might have to pull the muffler off to completely get the clamp out of there. So we'll jump over to the other side now. And now we can loosen up this mounting bolt here. So that is gonna be an 8mm hex key. Put that on there. We'll put a little extension and a deep socket on it. Now there is a nut on the back side of this, but it doesn't look like it's spinning. Okay, now it's spinning once it got loose, so let me put a wrench on that. And that's gonna be a 12mm nut on the back side there. All right, we can jiggle it a little bit. It looks kind of loose now. Let me thread through my servo cable so that's kind of sticking out and doesn't get held up by anything. And I wonder if I could just kind of wiggle this back and forth. It looks like it's gonna come right off. And then watch out for your swing arm. You don't wanna scratch that up as you're pulling this off. And then as soon as you get it about to the rear tire, you can kind of turn that to the right and it comes right off. All right, 30-second conversation about check engine lights and servos. So we will not get a check engine light because all I did was unhook that cable from the servo motor wheel that turns it and actuates it. Now, if I had unplugged the servo completely, of course we would get a check engine light. The motorcycle knows that that part is no longer on the bike. But if we just take the cable out of the servo motor, and if we leave the servo completely in, plugged in, we never unhooked it, everything is going to be totally fine and you'll never get that check engine light. Now, if you wanted the extra 2 inches of space under your driver's seat, you could put your servo buddy in there, unplug the servo, plug in your servo buddy, and then you would have that little bit of space. But the servo is just so small on this motorcycle, I don't see any need to do that. All right, well, let's just start holding stuff up there and kind of see how it's starting to look. Slide the link pipe on there. All right, so the link pipe is all on there. Well, I still gotta slide my clamp up here. That's just loose still because I'm kind of just eyeballing things. But I think I'm gonna want this link pipe, about an inch or so away from the original mounting point there, because if I go any closer, our link pipe is gonna touch the suspension linkage back here. So what I'm gonna do here, I just got a longer bolt from my mystery bolt bucket. So with this longer bolt, and then I'll use probably a couple of these little spacers here. And then that should just space that out perfectly right where I want it. Also, it looks like one of those 1/2-inch spacers and maybe just a big washer behind it. I think that's the ticket. Boom. Well, I guess I can tighten that clamp now. Why not? Well, and now to see if that muffler lines up. Now, what I will say is this isn't going to be your standard 51mm 2-inch universal muffler. So these have a 60mm muffler or outlet on the link pipe, and it does fit right on. Now what I've got to do at this point is look at my swing arm relative to the muffler. Well, let's do it together here and see if that's going to be enough clearance, or if we want to do another spacer, maybe another couple washers there. Well, so it's about 1/4 inch, it looks like. Well, maybe just over that. I mean, obviously the swing arm is not moving side to side. I don't think it would be an issue. It just depends on our preference, I guess, at this point. Do I want that muffler a little bit further out? Well, and I think that's just going to be perfect for now. If I ever do decide that I need to space that out a little bit more, we'll see how it settles in. If I ever think that that's too close to the swing arm, I'll just put another washer right there. It's just 1 bolt is all I have to take off. So now we will throw some springs on this thing here. It did come with an exhaust hanger, but there's not really any good spot. I could get a little bracket and stretch it up to there, but that link pipe is so solid. Right before our clamp towards the front of the bike, there's an exhaust hanger, a big bolt there, and then we put a pretty big sized bolt right there. So just nothing about this moves at all. I mean, it shakes the whole bike when I just grab the link pipe. So I don't think we're rocking any sort of exhaust hanger on this bike. All right, now to see how tough it is to stretch these out. Well, it's not going to be tough at all. The springs that they gave us are too long. Yeah, there is no way. They just hang right on. They don't even, I can clip it around both hooks there. and it doesn't even stay on, it's so loose. So luckily I have 2 shorter springs in my garage right now. Let me see if those will fit. Yeah, just looking at the 2, I mean, I had 2 springs that are about half the length, you know, of the ones that they gave us, which frankly, that's unacceptable because, like, the muffler is always going to mount on the link pipe just like that, so why wouldn't you give us springs that can fit? But when you're getting these knockoff, kind of like, I call them black market exhausts, even though they're just available on eBay. But when it kind of shows a name brand and you're paying $100 for an exhaust setup, yep, that's perfect. My shorter springs are gonna work excellent on that. Well, so make a note. If you get this exhaust system for your bike, you're just gonna need some shorter springs of some sort. You know, you can buy motorcycle muffler springs just on Amazon, on eBay. So if you order this exhaust, go search through some exhaust springs and find ones that you think are gonna be nice and short. Oh, and yeah, so that's on there. Yeah, the muffler doesn't move at all. We are putting no sort of a hanger on that whatsoever. All right, before I start putting stuff back together, I'll kind of show you the finished setup here. Everything looks really good. I mean, we've got a gap between our rear suspension linkage there. You know, we've got gap between our swing arm and the pipe, which we can always adjust very easily if need be. Here's kind of the look from the back. Just kind of high and tight on that right side. Very nice. Gosh, that has a huge outlet on it. And with no catalytic converter, I bet this is gonna shoot massive fireballs. Well, and I guess we really don't have that much to put back together here. It's really just this small plastic panel that covers the bottom of the servo, and then super easy. Honda has a great design for that the servo is just so easy to access. You know, every brand is going to be different. Some of the Yamahas and some of the Kawasaki's are kind of a pain, but that is the best design I've ever seen on a sport bike. I wish more manufacturers would design them like that. And that the servo itself is just so small, you know, it's not like some big old floppy drive or something like that. I said floppy drive, I am dating myself. Well, and so now for the glorious sound. What did we do to our motorcycle? And I'm really jealous because you guys are gonna get to hear it in 5 seconds. I still have to wait 5 more days. So let's fast forward in time and see what it sounds like. Got a nice smooth sound to it. I mean, it's loud, it's raw, it's pure. But like, listen to that. That is very refined. So we'll give it some RPMs. Well, and so that turned out really, really good. As far as the volume on it, you know, 1 to 10, 10 being as loud as gunshots and 1 being a moped, I would say it's probably a 9. It's pretty loud, but as far as the tone and the sound that you're getting, it's very smooth, it's very refined. You know, our knockoff SC Project muffler actually works awesome. As far as the quality of everything, you know, the link pipe, all the welds on that, the muffler itself, I'd give it another 9 out of 10. I mean, it's really good for what it is. Obviously, the springs that we had to kind of secure our muffler to that link pipe, you know, were the wrong size. So that was unfortunate, but luckily we had some others. And the price of it all, I mean, an exhaust system that decats your bike, you know, sounds and looks the part for $116. That's tough to beat. It's hard to go wrong with that. And of course, there will be plenty of rides in the future where you guys really get to hear this thing wound up and screaming. So comment if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, like the video if this helped you out. Subscribe if you want to see more. And until next time.